Welcome to the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters. It's Thursday night, it's 9 o'clock. I've got no power. It's just a typical weekend, or heading into the weekend here in South Africa, I can tell you that now. I've changed venue as well, not venue house-wise, I'm just in a different room. I've set myself up for the Tour de France, that I've actually got a TV with me at all times. So I've actually moved, my wife's not too happy, I've moved my entire office into the lounge, and I've got it off at the moment, but I can watch Tour de France and certainly open golf while I do a bit of work this weekend. But anyway, guys, we've got big rugby to talk about. We've actually got four North v South series that are perfectly poised at one each. You could have got 238-1 that the four Northern Hemisphere sides would have won last week. I don't know anyone who took that, and I certainly would not have been on that at all. But let's introduce the panel. And starting off to the top right, I thought it was a first-time guest when he came in, because I can't say I've ever seen him looking this neat and tidy. He's over in the UK for a wedding, and no doubt he wants to catch some of the bridesmaids' eyes there. Chris, good to see you, mate. You're looking sharp as could be. Are you on mute there, Chris?
Mute.
Yeah, I am. Sorry, mate. Yeah, how's it, Brent? Yeah, thanks, Brent. Yeah, good to see you, boys. Of course, it's been an awesome couple of weeks of rugby, hasn't it? I mean, I know I put out some bait there on the 3-0 whitewashers across the board there, which has been flung right out the window. But it's been an amazing series, right? You would have never thought there would be 4 of these games going to the wire. I mean, we could have possibly thought, what we'll be discussing today was dead rubbers, change teams, and who knows what that can bring up as well, right? So, yeah, looking forward to the weekend for sure. And it's been a good couple of weeks for me as well. So, yeah, all good.
Excellent. Welcome to all the boys in the live chat. I see, is it Peter Paul up there that said he's got load shedding as well with an unhappy face. And Mark Dunphy shouting for Ireland and says conductor needs Manscaped. I think, Mark, the problem is conductor does use Manscaped, but not on his face, and we'll leave it at that for now. And let's welcome the conductor. Conductor, you've got your beard and all, but I'd have to say you're looking pretty clean cut yourself not for a change, but in comparison to the norm. Which
thanks, Brent. As opposed to my normal homeless look. No, thanks, man. Just looking.
Looks like you've showered this week, but.
Yeah. No, thanks, Ben. It's always nice to join you boys on a Thursday night. And, great. Absolute cracking weekend of rugby ahead. As Chris pointed out, all 4 games going down to the wire, which is nice. You don't have one series, which is a dead rubber, guys rotating, etc. So everything on the line for these last 4 tests. And, geez, it's tough to call all 4 of them. I think, all 4 Northern Hemisphere teams have great shots this weekend. So, obviously losing the first one, all 4 came back in that second one. Like you said, if you had loaded all 4 Northern Hemisphere teams, you would have been parking your yacht next to Jeff Bezos this week in Monaco if you had loaded all 4. But that was an incredible result. I was very happy with Wales. I managed to grab some Wales on the board. Too many Boks changes, but it's going to be a cracking rugby weekend.
So we're going to get straight into the action. I think it was Sharkbrain asking there, where's Henrik? He was spot on about the Irish. Henrik, he's also down in load shedding world, I think, at the moment. So I don't know if he'll be watching the show, but yes, Henrik was spot on. He did send me his comments. He likes the Irish again. I can tell you that right now. We're going to get into that game first and foremost, and we got a slightly lower handicap this time. I've got to say, Ireland also delivering the best bet last week for the weekly betting mail, and thanks very much to Henrik for that. If you haven't subscribed yet, go down below. There's a link to join the battle against the bookmakers. But let's start with the conductor on this one. Conductor, -8.5. I think the handicap, I've been quite busy this week, but it looks as though there's perhaps been more money for the Irish. I think the bookies came out about 10.5 on this one. Are you mute? You're on mute, conductor?
Oh, sorry, Brenty. So I must just say, as you and Sharkbrain have just said, Henrik was so confident. I mean, I don't even think he was confident last week. He was absolutely assured of his bets, and hats off to him. He called it absolutely correctly. I thought the score last week actually flattered the All Blacks quite a bit. I thought the Irish had a chance to actually put them away. The All Blacks looked flat, looked very, very toothless in attack. Of course, the red card did quite a bit. Obviously, the bungle with Ardie Sevilla not being able to come back onto the pitch and retaining Sam Cane was a bit of a disaster for the Ian Foss coaching camp amongst many. But on to Wellington, Sky Stadium. Weather looks good. Geez, Brent, I don't know if you've ever played golf in South Africa when they fire that lightning warning. It sounds like a airplane siren. If you're being bombed by the Germans. So I can imagine that's exactly what it sounds like in the New Zealand camp at the moment, because Ian Foss is pulling out some interesting selections, dropping Lesafanga Anuku, pushing Severis to the left wing. Will Jordan, is such a threat back to right wing. That's not a bad move. Scooter Barrett pushing back to 6 with Sam Whitelock coming back in. But in that pack, geez, man, I feel sorry for the guy, because I've just been reading news reports all week, all in sundry, having a go at Sam Cane. And he looks like a hell of a nice guy, but I think just not at this level. He's not dominant in the tackles. It's not really, he's just not making that 6 jersey his own. I wouldn't even say he's the best 6 in Bay of Plenty, nevertheless, New Zealand. So, tough one. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck on the bench to make his debut. I don't know. That seems a bit soon to me. And obviously, Dirty Dan Cole's back at 2. All Blacks dropping the one guy who I thought's been the most physical of all their players is Samasani Tokuyahu. I thought he's been the best ball carrier, and they dropped him. So, some very strange selections by Foster. Ireland, and obviously, David Havili back in at centre. He's a better playmaker than Quinton Paya, but geez, he is slow as molasses. So, I don't know. I'm not sold on this All Black side. Ireland, luckily, not many changes. Just the only thing is up Ringrose out and then Big Bundy back in. I prefer Ringrose at centre. I find he's a better playmaker than Bundy. Bundy, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get big physicality and ball carrying ability. But I just feel Ringrose has got a slightly better brain. But nonetheless, it's tough to see New Zealand covering this cap. It's tough to make a case for them covering this minus. So I'm going to join Henrik on his thoughts. I'm all over Ireland plus 8.5. It's a historic. It's quite incredible that it's a historic first Irish win in New Zealand on New Zealand soil, and we're talking about possible Ireland winning the series the very next game. Watching the breakdown, the guys were struggling to get the words out because they're trying to make a case and saying, "Oh yes, but there was never a gap between Northern Hemisphere and Southern Hemisphere," and it's such a biggest load of crap that the first guys have been absolutely slating the Northern Hemisphere for lack of physicality, all this nonsense. Now they're trying to make a case for the fact that the Northern Hemisphere have actually now being on par, have reached parity, etc. So they are preparing themselves for another All Black loss. As Henrik always points out, the All Blacks just badly coached. When Will Jordan looks bad on your side, you've got problems. So for me, plus 8.5 will be my bet. I also really, really like points over. It's 46.5 in Wellington. Wayne Barnes in the whistle, I find he's a very positive referee. He does like to award penalties. My gut feel is with guys like Will Jordan on the right wing, Dane Coles at 2, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Akira Ioane on the bench. I've just got a feeling that the All Blacks may try and run themselves out of trouble because I don't think they're going to bully this Irish team. The Irish have actually bullied them badly. They were actually physically dominated by the Irish. So I think we may see a slightly more running game by New Zealand because they're not going to match the physicality of the Irish.
Well, we're going to go to Chris now. Chris, 2 things I want to tell you before you come in. Johan Esthuizen, and you're saying All Blacks 1-12 in a tight match, and I think Johan, the 1-12 margin is going to have a lot of supporters. The other one, which I know Chris is quite a big fan of as well, and Chris, I'll give you the price going into what you're going to say. Either team by 7 or less at Sunbet is 17-10. That's a little bit bigger than I was expecting for this game. What do you make of that one?
Yeah, that's very juicy. I like that a lot. I'm also for the 1-10 for sure on the New Zealand side. But yeah, if Ireland are going to win, it's not going to be more than 7. So if you want to cover the 2 results, that's pretty good odds. I was expecting closer. Yeah, definitely short odds on that one.
Right. What do you think of the actual handicap then? We've got 8.5. It's come in from 10. Mark Dunphy confirming he got 10 early in the week. Here we've got 8.5. Yeah. I don't see it moving much more. Maybe another point to 7.5. I mean, at the end of the day, New Zealand still are at home. I've got to tell you that I'm firmly on board with the conductor and with Henrik in this particular game. And I can tell you, not sure if this is a good thing, conductor, but Oracle, I think he also likes the Irish. Chris, what are your views here?
Yeah, well, again, it's one of the hardest things on earth is to back up a conductor review there, a preview. So I'll give it a go, yeah. But yeah, obviously I'm echoing a lot of conductor sentiment there. I mean, I actually do think the caps are very well set this week in essence, but also I'm quite surprised that the bookies have kept their balls in still and kept these handicaps where they've been, because they probably should be shorter. I think we all agree with that, and we're actually getting quite lucky on some of the passes we get in. Yeah. In saying that, I'm just gonna I'm a total in this anti-Foster camp. I think he's the wrong guy for the job. He's taking New Zealand backwards. However, this is more than a test now. I mean, especially for New Zealand in New Zealand, this is a lot more, and it's also you've got to think of the players, right? It's their pride at stake here. I just don't see anything but a monstrous New Zealand match. And that's what I think we all expect. But I think man for man, Ireland probably are the better side. They probably edge it. But I think what they're going to run into on Saturday is going to be one hell of a black storm. And as conductor said, the only way that New Zealand are going to beat Ireland is by coming at them true New Zealand style. They can't hold Ireland. If they're going to sit and try and match Ireland, they're going to get steamrolled again. So they have to come. They have to just put their stamp on this game if they want to win it. And I think if you look at the games, I think Ireland didn't rock up for 20 minutes and they lost the game by almost 20 points. They came and matched New Zealand. I'm going to say that the cards played a part. I think they were New Zealand just never recovered after 20 minutes. They were rabbit in the headlights. They couldn't even know it was Arthur or Martha. They had no clue. And I think that played a big part. And you've got to hope, or we hope, that if they will come out to be more disciplined than Barnes. I think Barnes might be a little bit more lenient. I don't know. You wouldn't think there's going to be that much disruption in cards. So I see a lot of parity now in this game, much more than it's probably going to have been in the last two tests, because I don't see Ireland dropping off again. So they're going to come, I think they're going to come helter-skelter at each other. New Zealand are going to come hard. Ireland are going to be Ireland and dig themselves in. So this plus 8.5 is great. 9 is the right bet, absolutely. But I know guys are calling Ireland victories, but I do believe New Zealand will win, because I think just purely they have to. I mean, I know I know better, but I think, and I'm of the sentiment when teams reach their peaks, I don't believe they won't be able to get themselves up, but to come up and do it again is going to be very difficult, and that's going to be for Wales and England as well with the team that they put out. So plus 9, great bet. New Zealand to win it 1-12, and if you want to cover the Ireland 2-point win, take that 1 either 7 if you prefer it to the 1-12, because I don't actually see New Zealand winning by more than 7 anyway.
Well, plenty of comments in the live chat there. Just Shark Brain mentioning everyone's on the Ireland bus. It's 100% correct. Conductor's got them, and he's waving them onto the bus there. We'll just bounce through a few of these comments in the live chat here. But generally speaking, the guys on the Irish, and I tend to agree with your sentiments. Look, I almost feel like I'm not the type of guy to back the plus and the 1-12 for argument's sake, but I guess I agree with you. You could make arguments for both, but I'm going to go for the plus here. I think Ireland are going to, at the very least, run the All Blacks very close. And I am one of those guys who believe that the Irish can win the series. This is like a first ever opportunity for them. And yeah, I think it's going to be an absolutely incredible test.
And I've also made a comment earlier on social media, and I see Alex confirm. I think this is going to probably be the last three game series we might ever see in international rugby. Yeah. Looks like so. This is everything for these Northern Hemisphere teams. So we can't expect anything less.
Right. Well, I'm going to give you first crack at the next game, Chris, because I saw Conductor putting down what looks like a quart of beer there. We'll have to have a closer look at that one a little bit later. But Chris, we've got Australia against England. I must tell you straight up, I haven't watched one of these tests yet. This happens that I've had things on Saturday mornings, either work or kids' sport, whatever the story is. But I got both of them wrong. The first test I was on the English. The second test I was on the Aussies.
I was the wrong way around too.
Yeah, minus 2.5 now. What are your views? Where's your money going on this? I'm giving you first crack so you can get in ahead of it on this one.
Yeah, well, again, this has been the cap the whole series, and it's exactly where it should be. I've always thought that there's a 1 point score between these two teams. Even though, yes, okay, you want to go on record. England obviously had the much better record against Australia in recent times. But for me, Australia are such a home team as well. They're a different side at home. For me, they're just far more street smart at the moment. For me, they're more a team on the up, where England's still kind of finding their feet. I call it Big Six Nations from England. I don't think Eddie Jones is overly concerned about this test, because he's not losing his job off this test anyway. He's not under that pressure. And if you look at the English team, I mean, yeah, they've lost some stalwarts there, Underhill and Etoja. They were massive, and they were massive, yes, last week. So just their loss out that engine room. I like Wilson coming back into the Oz team. I got a lot of time for that guy. He's a proper warhorse. I like that. So I like that balance of that loose trio. You got, and then for me, what ultimately does it for me on the Australia side. So I don't think I even said I'm going on Australia, but the bench, that Australian bench for me is completely lopsided to England's. So I think if it's a close game, which it should be, hopefully, if it is at 60 minutes, if you look at that bench, Fainga, Baldia was amazing last week. Liota and Samu to come and bash them around. Ikutal normally is the starting centre. McDermott probably should be the scrum half. So I just think that's where Australia edge it. So Australia for me, I always thought Australia would win this series. I'm going to stick by this. The cap is pretty good. If I was going to take the cap, would be mine. I would take the minus, but again, this is a butte 1 to 12 because I definitely don't see Australia getting much separation. It's a 1 to 7 Australia victory. Yeah.
Well, plenty of comments coming in the live chat. I'd say the majority of guys leaning towards Australia. Just a quick mention: Pierbol coming up. He's firmly in the New Zealand camp on the minus, so that's an interesting one there. Right, conductor Chris has now put in a massive preview there. How do you respond to that?
Sure.
Have a sip of beer and get cracking, mate.
No rebuttal, Your Honour. No, that was spot on. No, 100% correct. I'm leaning exactly where Chris is going. Just an interesting note. James O'Connor dropped straight out of the team because obviously he was covering fly for Noah Lolosio. My only red flag, and it is a big red flag. It's like bumping into a hot girl and suddenly noticing her Adam's apple. So the only big red flag for me is Reece Hodge at the back. Jeez, he's all kinds of awful at stages. So I've got a feeling Aussie will try and kick the leather off the ball, play more territory-based into the English half, purely because that's what Hodge can do. Obviously, gives you that big kicking option for penalties and big boot because, geez, he's good for nothing, I'll say. You got to feel bad for Tom Banks. I mean, look how many injuries. I mean, look, all teams have injuries this series between Aussie and England. Just, fullback for Aussie, you're looking at Killaway, Banks, and Pataya all out. I mean, that's Reece Hodge, fourth choice fullback. But other than that, as Chris said, really, really strong Australia team. For me, I think Tupou will be better this week. Just came back last week, finding his feet. He'll be better this week. I love Harry Wilson, one of my favorite players for the Reds. I prefer him at 8, but I'll take him at 6 for the Aussies. But it is a mean loose trio with Valentini and Marco Hooper there. I like Nick Frost there and at lock for Aussie. I think he's a nice physical young guy. So I mean, and Sami Kurevi, nice and physical there in the centres. But agree with what Chris says there on the bench. For me, a guy like Tate McDermott can really come and really insert some impetus into this Aussie team, brings a lot of energy. And Angus Bell, what an absolute wrecking machine he's been in the first 2 tests, coming off the bench. Slipper and Tupou, good experience there starting. And, Bell and Alatoa coming off the bench. So, I mean, that's a decent pack. English just rocked by injuries. Lewis Ludlam, not a bad player, but he's not international quality for me. In at Lucy with Courtney Laws and Billy. Ollie Chesham, young. I think he's a youngish guy. Also, he's not going to be able to fill the boots of Mario Toji. So, there's just too many spots and young English bench with Will Joseph and Henry. Like I said, Henry Arundel will be an absolute superstar one day, but young guy coming off the bench. I see an Aussie victory all the way.
Right, I see the boys are having a bit of debate around Mario Itoje. I'm very much in the camp that I think Itoje is a big loss for England. I actually rate him quite highly. He does every now and again go missing in a game, and sometimes in the really physical games he does go missing. But I find he's an absolutely tremendous athlete. But I appreciate everyone's got different views on him. Chris, you got something to add?
Yeah, and also, I'm also on the England selection. I was quite surprised because I actually thought Jack van Poortvliet was what England were doing well last week. I'm a big Danny Kerr fan. Yeah. I'm confused about the selection because Kerr came on and did well, but England also nowhere in the last 20 minutes anyway. So I'm very surprised because I thought he was really what was good for them going forward. So yeah, it was just so surprising to me that with that selection. So yeah, really interested to see.
Before we move on, Chris, before we move on in this game, just a quick comment on the points, and then we'll go back to Conductor.
Actually, we need to go backwards because I also agreed with Conductor on the overs in the New Zealand game. Conductor and I actually had a side conversation last week because there was no points last week, but I'm certainly expecting a bit more points this week in all the tests.
So, are you guys saying you talk to each other outside of the show? You haven't read your contracts, have you? I mean, the first time you must speak to each other each week is when you come on the show.
I have no idea what Chris is talking about.
Wrong, Brandon.
Claire's blind. You've never spoken outside of the show. Conductor, what do you think on points of this game?
Yeah, Brent, sorry. I just want to go back to what Chris is saying. Van Poortvliet, he was brilliant. So I don't understand what's going on. Why that rushed Danny Care back? But I do echo his sentiment with regards to Eddie Jones not really having too much at stake. It doesn't feel like I don't know. I don't know how much he wants to win this, but the points. Sydney Cricket Ground. I'm not too sure of the pitch. The conditions look good in Sydney. Paul Williams on the whistle. To me, he's an unders. With so many changes in both teams, I tend to favour the unders here as well. There's just a lot of mix and matching, and but 47.5 is low. But to me, I'd take an unders. I've got no strong feel in that. I would edge towards unders purely because of Paul Williams.
Yeah, I also would be unders here, Brent. I can see like a 23-20 game here, 22-19. I'm not going to be rushing over unders here.
Yeah, I must say, it's one that, look, I'm actually quite, and guys, as I say, take this from where it comes. I haven't done well in the Australia-England games, but I do think that Australia are going to win the series, and I think they're going to beat this handicap of -2.5 there. I'm fairly confident about that. I'm just checking that I'm bringing up the right spread for the next game because I seem to have, I think I left some of last week's spreads on. I don't want to bring the wrong one, but Conductor, we're going to give you first crack at the Bok game. -12.5 South Africa here, 12.5, 13.5, depending on where you shop. I mean, we've got a South African side, obviously, with a lot of changes from last week, because last week we had 14 changes. I must just quickly tell you, I don't normally like to after time because I was losing. Last week I was slightly up heading to the South African game. I was actually in quite a bit of trouble. I was on Welsh overs and overs. And with 12 minutes to go, I just sensed that maybe Wales were coming into this game or we're going to snatch it. And I took a bit of 9-1 Wales and thankfully got out of trouble there. But, just one of those things. I never fancied them before the game, really, but got out of trouble. What are we going to do in this game, though? We've got a handicap of 12.5. I think it looks quite well set.
Yeah, Brent, I think it's definitely well set. Also a points line of 48.5 in Cape Town, which is also very well set. Matthew Carley on the whistle. This is a tricky one, eh? I mean, Oaks were pumping the Boks last week, and I couldn't really believe it. Boks don't normally put teams away, and with 14 changes, I didn't think we were going to pump Wales, and I managed to grab some Wales on the board. Like you said, I didn't post it, so it was just purely a self-victory for me, just for that last. And kudos to Gareth Anscombe. If you actually read what that guy's gone through, I mean, he had the most horrific knee injury. They had to take bone from a dead guy and graft it onto his knee. And I mean, geez, it sounds like something you watch on Netflix late at night at 11:30 on a Saturday night. It's also horrific what that Oaks knee went through. So, and I mean, Wales have been plucky this whole series, eh? I mean, we had to slot a good kick from Damien Willemse to win the first test. As we discussed, and I think myself and Chris, and I think there might have been some discussion on Twitter, exciting Bok team, but it was almost a spectator Bok team. It was a guys we like, but the combinations just didn't fire, and I think that was what we expected. We've gone back to pretty much 95% of, I think, the strongest Bok team. Obviously Hendricks been rewarded with a start ahead of Faf at 9. I think this way Niedama said he's rewarding form over reputation. I think Hendricks has obviously been a bit more in form than Faf. But my concern is obviously leaving our best playmaker on the bench, and that's Willie. For me, he just really gets that back line going. I don't know if Willemse will be able to fill that role. So that being said, look, it's a good Boks team. I mean, when you can have Peter Steff, Sia Khaleesi, and Jasper Visa as your Lucy's, geez, that's power. Really good backline. And I think obviously our strongest asset is obviously our two front rows. And I worry about the Welsh front row where Dylan Lewis, their tight head, their one sort of known tight head on this tour that's left. He went off early. He looked like he copped an injury. He's back starting. How fit is he? I don't know. I think Trevor Inyankani is going to give him all hell on Saturday. And I think the reserve bench for their props isn't that strong either. So when you got Koch and Kitsoff, I think Kitsoff is going to also destroy their tight head Wainwright when he comes on in that sort of second half. My only concern is the Cape Town pitch. We saw during the URC final, it is slippery. It cuts up a lot. It's not a strong pitch. I think can see a lot of resets. And it's going to nullify our one big strength, which is scrummaging, which won us the World Cup final. Is it going to be enough to nullify the game against Wales? Possibly. So for me, I still like Wales plus 12.5. They're a plucky side. They don't go away. My only concern is they didn't offer a lot on attack last week. They've made very little changes. It's only Josh Adams in for Cuthbert. They didn't really offer much on attack. So I think the Boks will be better this week with a stronger side. But like I said, my biggest concern is that is the pitch. How is it going to perform in those conditions? A coastal game plus 12.5 seems high. And I'd probably lean towards unders as well in this game. Even with Matthew Carley, he's a positive ref. I do think he's more of an overs ref. But I just think I see a lot of resets. I don't see a lot of Welsh points. And I see the Boks being a little bit more conservative here.
Right, well, the points line is 48.5, Chris. So we'll come in there. The pitch. LB had actually raised in the live comments, what effect do you think the pitch will have? So I think Conductor covered that nicely there. But Chris, what do you think here? I'll tell you straight, I'm leaning towards a comfortable Bok win here. I think the Wales are going to put up a big fight. But you know what concerned me about Wales last week? And someone I think mentioned it in the live comments, and I think Conductor might have touched on it as well. They were playing against a disjointed Springbok side. But, okay, yes, they actually outscored the Springboks in terms of tries in the end. But they never really looked like scoring. That one try they scored was almost like one of their few opportunities. And I think it's going to be a different story against what I think is a strong Boks selection. I like this Boks selection.
Yeah. So yes. So I'm totally agree. The first two tests I was all over the place because just the matchup between Wales and South Africa, for some reason we battle with Wales. They get under the skin. We're quite similar in our styles. The stats were telling yes, Wales fall asleep, lose to teams like Italy. But they're also one kick away from making a World Cup final and potentially beating England. They're not a mug side. I've always said that, but they unfortunately, for whatever reason, they do go missing. So I was very big on the pluses. I thought they were generous. Even last week we got generous again. And like you say, Boks were nowhere in the first half in the first test, and then there was a change team last week, and Wales had to, pull it out the fire, and to be honest, I thought we looked I'm not going to say a little bit arrogant, but I felt like with 20 minutes to go, I felt like guys thought the job was done. I got this vibe that it wasn't the bomb squad. It was very low-key body language. And that's why when Anskin came on like a keen, like be in the bonnet and then Adams' class, I wasn't worried as well. You could actually see it coming, And I actually needed over 12.5 Welsh points for a big bet. So I was like, oh, well, so like, Brent, when you're in a pub, and it's like, do you want the South African win or this kick to go over? I was in that spot last week. Big time.
I know what I wanted. I wanted the kick to go over because I was in big trouble at the 9-1. Wales didn't arrive. But yeah, it's going to be good. I must say, I'm leaning towards South Africa on this one. I think they're just going to be too strong. At the end of the day, I know Wales have done well, and I know we historically struggled to put Wales away, but I don't think this is a really top-class Welsh side.
But I was just going to say, also in this series, besides that, and so this is my recommendation. I've been on Wales plus halftime handicap, second half book win. You get 1.91 for Boks to win the second half. I'm not deviating from that. If Wales are going to win this game, they have to win it in the first half because they're not winning the second half. So I think Wales will come out firing first half. You can get +6, still +8 at 1.70. I still think the Boks will come out firing, I'm sure, be much better, but Wales will as well. It's been profitable in betting those markets. I'm not deviating. Go Wales plus first half. Go Boks to win second half. And my prediction is Boks will beat this camp. I just think Wales, you can see they were hanging on as well. The Oaks are going down. They're injured. They are hanging by a thread. They've hit Everest. I mean, if they win, she's amazing. But I can't. I just see, the final test against the Lions in Cape Town, that we squeezed out quite a comfortable victory there in the end. After the Lions gave us everything, I see a similar outcome here, 27-6, something like that.
Right, and Richard Baker, one of our rare Facebook viewers. Most of the guys watch on YouTube, but good to have a guy coming in on Facebook. Test match rugby, win at all costs in a decider. He likes unders in all the matches at the weekend. And I can tell you, Richard, you're going to have the support of the likes of Henrik Swart and Brendan O'Connell will no doubt be nodding their heads in the unders camps there as well. Chris, I'm going to stick with you for the next game. This is Argentina up against Scotland. Argentina delivered our best bet for us 2 weeks ago. Thankfully, we stayed away from them last week. In fact, most of us, including myself, fancied Scotland, but I never got involved in the game in the end. But Scotland running out comfortable winners, having been quite soundly beaten the week before. Perhaps you could argue they were a bit unlucky in patches. What do we make of this one? We've got Michael Checker's Argentina team -1.5. It's virtually a choice game here. Where are we going with this?
Yeah, so I'll be surprised. I thought the cap was going to be around 1, 2, 3 initially anyway from the first test. I know lots of guys were bullish on Argentina first game, and fair enough, it did come in. I wasn't on that. I was on a bit of Scotland +7 there. I think it was 8 in the end, and then I've doubled down and went Scotland again, and it came right. But you know what, Brett? I didn't actually watch that game because I'm here for a wedding, so I was busy, and I saw the score. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, this, why I said it, because my perception at the moment is I still feel Scotland are actually full strength, are a better team than Argentina at the moment. Better coach, obviously Checkers in. And for me, Argentina have got a little bit missing the last year. They had that great series against New Zealand. I don't think they're not playing as well as they should be. I mean, Checkers just come in, which is great, but you need to give the guy to bed in. But in saying that result was what I thought. But then I went and watched the game, extended highlights, and I saw what Argentina were doing. I mean, they were letting Bennett run inside lines and getting over the line, and they got a forward pass and a build-up, 2 drops over the line. That scoreline completely flattered the Scots. So I think now it's back to all square. Scots are also missing a few guys. I mean, I love their loose trio, Dodge, Watson and Ferguson. I think they're brilliant. But they've got some. I think they're now a bit light. I don't rate Tuipulotu in the centre for them. I don't think he fits their system at all. And then they're a bit light out wide. They've got Smith and McLean. Not for me world class. Not yet, at least. So now I'm doing my first flip. I'm going to go back. I think RG's now at -1 is a total gift. I think they are going to be up for it. And I think if you look at the teams now on paper facing each other, last test, Argentina are going to be super fired up. If they keep those mistakes out the match, they're going to run out 7-10 points victors. Yeah.
Right. Well, we're going to go to the conductor now, but I can tell you, conductor, just based on the live chat, the boys are split on this one. The bookies definitely haven't made a major error here because we've got support for Argentina, we've got support for Scotland. But if Scotland's team was stronger, if they never had these injuries, if it was a stronger Scottish side, I think Scotland are better than Argentina. But they've got a weaker side at home, and that favours, for me, Argentina. That's what I mean. Otherwise, I would be on Scotland. But there's quite a bit of division. There's quite a few guys on Scotland. I'm also leaning towards Argentina. Conductor, what are you going to go with here?
Brent, sorry, before we get on that, I just want to just hop back quickly to what Chris was saying, and he makes a very good point. I think maybe Wales are running out of a bit of gas. So just maybe they're running on empty. And I think exactly as we said a bit earlier, Wales didn't offer much on attack. I think what Chris is saying is I think we're not going to pump them, but I just think they're running out of gas. I don't know how much more they're going to offer in that last test. But the only concern is, hey, you're on the minus, and the Boks are like 8 ahead, 9 ahead, and it's just box kick after box kick after box kick, and they just don't want to claw back, that 5-pointer to take you over that -13 or -14 or whatever. But case maybe it's only the frustration with backing the Boks on the minus is they're going to box kick them their way to a victory, and it's not easy. It's always easy for the heart to take. But on this game, it's an incredibly tough call to make. If you're going to put a lot of money in this game, I'll go to war with you any day because you're a brave man. Scots with 8 changes.
Or a stupid man.
Hey?
I said, or a stupid man. Maybe you know what I'm going to
Scotland 8 changes. Some of them positive. Johnny Gray coming back in, Rory Sutherland starting. But then some of them a bit weaker. Ollie Smith at 15 coming in. Darcy Graham drops out. So Rufus McLean to right wing. As I'm not against Siona Tuipulotu. It's not terrible, but maybe not always the best at times. I think it's their bench which is weak for me. I'm not a big George Horn fan. I thought Ben White was brilliant last week. Obviously, Ali Price is back. So a bit of a weak Scottish bench. But saying that, RG's missing heaps of players. No Montoya, Cordero, Urbajeta, Kubeli, Sanchez, Miotti. I think they're missing 6 or 7 or 8 players, first line players. The 9 that's starting for Argentina is a 7s player, but Baton Velez. I know his name quite regularly from the 7s games, but he's making his debut for Argentina, starting 9. The Carreras, Santiago Carreras, he's filling fly half. I don't know how good he is. I know how good he is. I mean, watch him. He's not. I don't know. He's amazing. But the positive is obviously Buffelli back to left wing. Malia back to 15. Fakunda Issa, to me, he's a great 8. The Toulon guy, he's back at 8 there. Another huge red flag is the red card merchants. Thomas Lavanini. You guaranteed a bit of fisticuffs.
We'll bring back Alex's comment. I like that one. He's back, yellow and red.
Yeah, no, he loves the filth. He should work in the gutters because that's where he belongs. He's a filthy.
He's proper rubbish.
His brain explodes. He's the rugby version of Nick Kyrgios. He's just like, he'd be playing well for 20 minutes and then just decides, stuff this. I've had enough of this. So
I'd just like to say, conductor, that just if Lavanini is watching, I distance myself from all comments about you that are made on the show. I think you're a great guy, and the refs tend to be hard on you. So I distance myself from these comments.
So Brenty. So for me, it's not a great RG side. The Chaparro, the guy that plays for Benetton, he's playing. Thomas Albanos, also from Benetton, on the bench. There's quite a few Benetton players in the side. To me, it's not a strong RG side. They look poor. They may have got the bad. They may have got on the bad side of Matteo Ranal last week with regards to the scrummaging. They were on that 5 meter line of Scotland multiple times. They got blown for scrum infringements. So I may have got on the wrong side. I see it's 44.5, which is quite a low line. The conditions look good, but Ben O'Keefe on the whistle. To me, Argentina are a big underside. Gun to my head, I take Argentina purely because they're at home and purely because they really, really need to up their game, because in about 2 weeks, they're going to be in the Rugby Championship facing a lot better opposition than Scotland. I think their first game is at home to Australia. So they really, really need to up their game. And maybe this is it. I don't know. But to me, they're missing so many players. Very interrupted both teams. I would probably take Argentina on the board, but no bet for me, really.
Right. Well, let's move into the other international games. We've probably got through the big 4, I would say, here. But there are a few more on. Georgia, I just grabbed this handicap just before coming on the show, conductor, minus 12.5 against Portugal. They had a big win over Italy. And, what do you think of this cap? Have you looked at this game at all? Is this something you'll be getting involved in?
No, Brent, I haven't looked at this game at all. I mean, I saw the Georgia game versus Italy, and they played like absolutely men-possessed versus that Italian team. I don't know what changes they've made, and I don't know who Portugal are bringing, etc. So, I'm not going to raise an opinion on this. Look, I mean, Georgia are obviously pushing for themselves to be included in the Six Nations and to receive high honours. And, they had a great game last week. But in terms of this game, there's no bet for me.
Well, Richard Baker just coming on and saying, Brent, help. How do I cope on Saturday? 4 rugby matches, Open Championship, Tour de France with a wife and 3 kids. Well, the first thing I can tell you is get rid of the wife and 3 kids. They don't come into the equation at all. Take them away, send them somewhere, because ultimately, I've got the same problem there, Richard. I mean, we're going to have Tour de France and Open Golf, and yeah, it's just going to be incredible with all the rugby as well. Absolutely can't wait for that. But yeah, my Saturdays are generally spent on the couch. This one, well, it'll be either be in the pub or on the couch, but probably the couch, so I can watch everything there. Chris, your views on the Georgia minus 12.5?
No, unfortunately, Brent as well. I hadn't managed to look at that game yet. Sorry about that.
No, not at all. Not at all. I didn't even know it was on until just before the show. So just popping it up. But Shark Brain saying he's all over Georgia on the minus. And let's see if there's any LB saying
that second tier stuff's difficult for me. I don't get it right. Well, I'm not betting on it, but when I think something's going to happen, I'm off. So I don't bet much on tier 2.
Right. Farid says Georgia in great form at home, but handicap well priced. Alex, I'm going to star your one to bring it up later at the end. You've got a comment on the World Cup qualifier, which I didn't even know was taking place. There's a lot of these. But Chris, I'm going to go to you then. I don't know if you've had a look, and no problems if you haven't. But let's go on to I think it's the Pacific Nations Cup here. And the first game we got, Chris, is Tonga plus 16.5 against Australia A.
Yeah, I got involved in the first week and then not the second week, which unfortunately. But I actually was hoping, I want to get involved this week. I was hoping actually for a lower handicap than that, to be honest. But obviously Australia A had a good game against Fiji, but Fiji being our good old Fiji, did what we normally see. So as I said, I was hoping this would be mine, a lower one. I haven't seen the teams. I was hoping to see the teams. I don't know if you guys have seen or Brendan, if you've seen it. Once you would expect Tonga to be better because they were better. They got to keep improving. So now, if you had to ask me now at 17, I'm a Tonga punter. But I need to see the teams, Brent. But 17 seems a bit high.
Right, let's bring the conductor in there. Any views on this one, conductor? Last week, I saw some tweets from guys, and no blame to them at all. I mean, but I was sitting there and I woke up early. I thought, let's get on Fiji. Hell of a disappointing in that game. But we'll get to them in a second.
Was it Tonga
against Aussie, eh?
Yeah, Brent, just going back to that tier 2 rugby. It's guys loading it. I don't know. I don't trust tier 2 rugby. It's like trusting a fart the next morning after a hot chili. Woo, you're gonna run into trouble. I had Uruguay on the minus against the worst Romanian team they've ever put out. Romania got a red card within 10 minutes and still beat Uruguay. So it's the fluctuations, the quality is not there sometimes in tier 2. But if the guys are backing Georgia, good luck, and backing Chile. I see there's a lot of money coming for Chile. So
how about Spain hammering Canada as well?
Yeah, I know that cheese, and that Canada side is terrible. Eh?
Yeah, they're terrible. Yeah.
But no, for this Tonga Australia game, I haven't seen the Aussie A side yet. Obviously, Reece Hodge, I think, has gone from Aussie A to the main team, but I'd probably look at the minus there. Even though Tonga should enjoy majority support with the game being in Loatoka, Fiji, this Tonga side is terrible. Willie Havili, who's really, I think he's only played fly half once, and that was in the first game of this competition. He's back at fly half. Israel Folau is obviously marching in some gay pride parade somewhere, so he's no longer playing for them. Fekitoa is no longer there either. Very weak Tonga side. There's Ben Tamiafuna, he's there, and Fafita, he's there, but I don't really recognize much of the other guys. I thought Australia A played very, very well last week against Fiji. There's some really, really decent players in Australian A side, so I expect them to put them away here. The only concern is I would have liked to look at points overs here, but only Brendan Pickerel on the whistle actually hasn't been such a big unders ref of late. He's actually been more overs, funny enough. So I'd be interested to see what the line is. I might actually go Australia A over Tonga. Just don't have a defense.
Right there. Just Nathan mentioning on that USA Chile game, any SA books have got the lines in. Please, guys, mention in the live chat. I've had a quick look around some of the good for the game bookmakers. I don't see anything there right at the moment. Chris, you got any views on this one?
No. What I was saying to go. If you knew any team news, I didn't realize those guys were missing for Tonga, and like our team news is big. In Australia, I was heavily involved in the first round. I was up early watching Australia over Samoa, and they threw a bloody wild pass at the end, which got me out of that bet. They lost it. They were their enemies there. And then I was all over Tonga, and as we know, Fiji absolutely monstered Tonga. So now I'm just a bit nervous on this one. But I really like the points. If we can get a decent points line, barring it's not too humid and rainy, but we've been lucky there with the weather. Looks like it's been quite good. So that's got points written all over it. Like it's going to be a lot.
Chris, straight into the next game, Fiji -4.5 against Samoa.
I'll check out. Thanks. These teams. You guys can. I'll watch it. So watch some, specific flair, but I'm not. It's not getting my money.
And conduct yourself. Anything on this?
Yeah, Brenty. I was lining this game up. Hey, look, Fiji made a lot of changes last week against the Aussie A side. They've brought some guys back. But there's some red flags for me again. Nasila Silla at 6. He's not a 6. If they had Kunivula there at 6, I would have been chomping at the bits. And then their biggest weakness, holy gamoly. It just baffles the fucking mind. How you can't have a decent 10? Can you not just go buy a decent fly somewhere? Titi Teller, he's in Australia because his first child's been born, so he's not playing for the side. But Ben Volavola, oh my word, this oak is next level toxic. Like, I cannot believe he sits on the bench at Rugby 92. Like, I cannot believe it. He was horrendous when he came on last week. Even when I read the comments on Twitter, everyone's like, geez, we're not got a better option than Ben Volavola. So, like, he's just the only weakness there. Because with an exciting backline, Habossi and Wanakolo on either wing, with T2 in the centers there, geez, they've got some exciting machines there. Just give Habossi the ball and let him run. That being said, I like the Samoan team. I don't think it's a terrible team. There should be good. I'll aim for points in this one. It's Jordan Way on the whistle. I've checked the conditions in Luatoka look okay. It's a sort of almost 3-4 o'clock game. So, but I mean, if you look at the conditions, it's always like it's rain and like 80% humidity. But the last two weekends have been decent.
I was about to say. I have you seen I saw the reports and I was worried about points. So I saw 80% dark clouds, hurricane, and then it was perfect. So like I don't know how to contrast that those weather reports.
I like this. I really like the Samoan team. So I like there to be points. Like I said, my only massive concern is number 10, Ben Volavola. I just geez, but other than that, it's really a decent side, and I would have loved Kunivula at 6, but I really think I think one of the guys that mentioned it, Vern Carter, has actually done a good job with Fiji in that first game against Tonga. They really look good. They're starting to get their basics right. Sam Matavesi, good player at hooker. Rano Tua at the also Northampton lock. He's a decent player there. So really good, decent Fiji side with home support. You should cover this cap.
Right, conductor, before we get into the best bets, and I also just want to touch on the Rugby Championship betting, because I know you mentioned, I think on Twitter, you'd like to touch on that. But just quickly, we got a 2-week break now, so we got rugby. There's someone asking about the club rugby, the NPC. Does that start the same week as the Rugby Championship?
Yeah, so 4th of August.
4th of August. So we probably got 2 weeks off till we're back. So it feels weird, but I'll have 2 Thursday nights off. What we might do is record some shows, perhaps with some betting strategy with the Oracle or something to play at that time for anyone who happens to come on. But guys, make a note. We're not going to be around for the next couple of weeks, but we'll certainly be back in full force for the Rugby Championship. And on that note, let's chat a little bit of Rugby Championship, conductor. I'll tell you, I just popped onto Sunbet. New Zealand 4-6, South Africa 2-1, Australia 5-1, and Argentina 28-1. Obviously, the rank outsiders there. You got anything early you want to point out? Anything punters should be looking for?
Yeah, Brent, I thought I'd spotted some value, but my concern with Russie, he did say some things I didn't quite like this week on Twitter. Really, the value here should be the Springboks. I mean, I know, New Zealand 100%. The reason why I say the Springboks are right, we start our first 2 games in South Africa, both against New Zealand, both at altitude. First game against New Zealand in Nelspruit, second game against New Zealand in Ellis Park. So both at altitude, both against probably likely the other team that should win the Rugby Championship. Then fly to Aussie. We've played Aussie twice in Aussie. We avoid Fortress Brisbane. So I think we play in Adelaide, and I think we play somewhere else. We don't play in Brisbane. But then we fly to Argentina. We play 1 game in Argentina, and 1 game against Argentina at home in South Africa. And if we looked at Argentina's current form, to me, I don't really stress playing too much against them in Argentina. So it's going to come down to the 2 games against New Zealand, and then obviously, can we sneak a game against Australia in Aussie? I think we can. At 2-1, I think at places you can get 22-10 on the Boks. That to me is amazing value, especially considering we're playing New Zealand at altitude with packed stadiums, and considering New Zealand's form at the moment. My only concern is Rassie touched on that he might split his squad again. So we may have the strongest squad for New Zealand, and he may fly guys out for Aussie, and he may split it. He's planning for the World Cup next year. How much he's planning for this Rugby Championship, I don't know. But for me, look, I think it's silly that guys are calling for changes of coaches. Look, we have lost 5 out of the last 10 games. Let's not kid ourselves. That's not great. New Zealand's lost 4. France have lost none. So I understand we want to plan for the World Cup, but let's not throw the baby out of the bathwater and just say, well, we're going to throw out a Rugby Championship. We need to start racking up some, confidence for the guys. So I think we need to win the Rugby Championship. So I'm hoping he's going to take it seriously. So for me, 22-10 for the Boks is a really great value.
Dino reckons the Boks camp are cooking up something there. And talking of cooking up something, Sharkbrain reckons Argentina to win. I think he's been drinking something that's been cooked up somewhere along the line there, Sharkbrain. But I'm sure, you're kidding about that one. But Chris, anything on the Rugby Championship? You're not going to grab a bit of 28-1 Argentina there?
No, not for me, thanks. But yeah, and again, I do agree with Brendan. The value is with us, absolutely, for sure. And yeah, it is. It is what Rassie and Jacques are cooking up, because they certainly. I don't know what was going on in the selections for this series, and I hope it's with us. It must be for the World Cup in mind. I would hope that look. This was very bizarre. It was very out of character. I mean, I would be surprised if. I mean, we pretty much know what their first strength team is, and I think he's got to just get them selected most of the time, and go right through now, get momentum into the World Cup. So if he does pull some shenanigans again, I'll be surprised and probably a little annoyed, because I would like to go to Australia and put the record straight there after last year. But we'll see. But the value is with the Boks.
All right, we're going to move on to the best bets in just a second. Sharkbrain saying, have a great weekend. Good show. Sharkbrain, great to have you back on the shows as well. And look forward to seeing you there for the Rugby Championship. Let's get into the best bets, gents. And Chris, I'm going to start with you. Best bets for the weekend.
Yeah, I've got 3 that's really strong for me for this weekend. I'm going to say I love South Africa's second half at the prices you can get. I can't see anything more than us winning that second half again. They're taking the test away from Wales. I really do like the New Zealand overs, just because the way I'm reading the game is if New Zealand go for it, it's going to open up the game. There's going to be space on that field. Yeah, they're going to bomb up and unders, but some aren't going to go to hand, and Will Jordan's going to pick up a loose one, or Severis, and they're going to be splittling away. So I think the only way that New Zealand can win is by trying to put 40 points past Ireland. So I see a lot of points there, and because it's not wet, it's going to give that opportunity to happen. Barnes is going to keep it going. So I really like over 46. Covers the shenanigans of the cap getting blown out and whatever. Really like that. And then my last one is Oz -2. So top 3 bets for the weekends: South Africa's second half, over 46 in New Zealand, and Oz -2. Those are pretty strong punts from me.
Excellent. Some nice confident calls there from Chris. Just a reminder, guys, if you like the show, hit the like button. It does help the rankings of the Good for the Game channel quite a lot. And also, if you're a Tour de France fan, I do daily previews on the Tour de France. Tomorrow's one will probably only be out in the morning, because I'm going to switch my generator off after the show for the sake of the neighbours, and just hope we have some power back in the morning so I can get that preview out. Right, conductor, bring us home with your best bets.
Right, Brent. My best bets is actually not rugby related. I managed to grab this amazing market. John Daly just smoked 8 cigarettes before the second tee box. So I grabbed quite a bit of that. But no, in terms of ruggers, I love the points over in Wellington. I 100% agree with Chris. New Zealand's rugby is attacking. They want to show flair. I don't know if they're not gonna try and Springboks. They're not gonna try and South Africa against Ireland. They're not gonna try and nitty gritty it. Their game is playing expansive rugby, guys like Ricky Ioane, guys like Will Jordan, being amazing, great passes, inside cut lines, everything. I like the points overs there. Second best bets is definitely Aussie on the board. Yeah, I really think in Impact Sydney, I think they're going to take this. Other than that, I probably will hopefully take those bets and enjoy the rest of Saturday. And yeah, the NPC is the greatest rugby competition in the world, starting in 2 weeks. If you think sex is good, you haven't watched Southland versus Northland at 4 in the morning when it's pouring rain. So yeah,
Evan. I'll be joining you, Brendan.
That's
excellent.
it,
Well,
that's my best bets, yeah.
No, thanks. And thanks to you, boys. Thanks to the guys in the live chat. Just to mention, yeah, I'll be firmly rooted to the golf as well. Yeah, Rory McIlroy, they had quite a big punt on him. He's made a nice solid start, which is unusual for me. Normally when I back a guy, he has to come from 10 or 12 behind after the first round. So good to see Rory there. I've also got a bit on Scotty Scheffler. So looking forward to that. Yes, Tour de France. I hit a 50-1 winner last Sunday. And then I had like 5 guys in the break of not one was shorter than 40-1. And I got a second place after like 180 kilometers when your guy loses on a mountain by like a tire width. It can be quite devastating. And another second place today. So I'm hoping I can hit some winners on the weekend. But Chris, yourself, enjoy the weekend, mate. When's the wedding and is the bachelor? When's the bachelor?
We're off to Brighton on Saturday. So yeah, getting psyched up for that. And then they're actually going down to the south coast for the ceremony on next Friday. So yeah, it's busy.
So what's happening in Brighton? Is that the bachelors?
Bachelors, yeah. So I've got a few.
You're going to be posting pics on Twitter?
We'll see. I will be posted.
And Conductor, what have you got planned for the weekend, mate?
Brent, yeah. So my girlfriend's going off to her mom this weekend. So I've got enough time to have the stripper pole inserted before she gets back. So yeah, there's a lot of construction DIY going on. No, that's just gonna. So she's giving me a side eye as we speak. But so no, just gonna enjoy the ragga. Yeah, we'll be planning to go away next week to the bush. So getting all that ready, and yeah, looking forward to a nice weekend. Throw some meat on the bra, and have a good one.
Excellent. Thanks very much, guys. Thanks to everyone on the live chat as well. We'll be back in probably 3 weeks' time for the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters. But do catch the Tour de France previews in the meantime. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, lads.